To understand China more deeply, Mike chose proximity over distance. Not reports, not forecasts. He chose to be present. In the early 1990s, the air in a Chinese airport still held a sense of steady, deliberate movement. People moved through customs, their paths cleared, their destinations known. Near the exit, a man stood quietly, holding a sign. Professor Mike. Mike stepped forward. Hands were shaken, names exchanged with a careful precision. The invitation had been exact. Teach English at a Chinese university. From the moment his plane landed, the details of his new life were already decided. Transportation waited outside. Housing was assigned. Schedules were printed. He didn't need to ask for any of these things. They arrived before he did. A silent infrastructure of welcome. His apartment door opened to a space that was prepared. The sheets on the bed were clean and crisp. A kettle for hot water sat on a small table. A desk was positioned by the window, ready for work. And on that desk, a printed welcome note lay neatly on top. The apartment was modest, but it carried a powerful intention. Someone had imagined his needs before he had time to discover them himself. In this place, he was not an uncertainty to be managed. He was an expected guest. The classroom confirmed this. As he entered for the first time, the students stood in unison. "Good morning, Professor Mike," they said, their voices a single, respectful chorus. He learned quickly that authority doesn't always come from language or expertise. Sometimes it arrives in advance, a space held open for you by the system itself. He was encouraged to teach freely, to move at his own pace, to take his time. The institution wasn't rushing him. It was waiting for him, accommodating his presence. But elsewhere, in another country, another system was unfolding. Early morning light filtered through a small apartment window in America. Lin Fang stood quietly, tying her hair, preparing for a different kind of day. She was learning how systems respond when a person's history cannot be easily confirmed. When their past is written in a language the present refuses to read. Her resume lay on a polished desk. An interviewer turned a page, paused and looked up. Her experience was extensive, her qualifications clear. But the proof of it all, the diplomas and letters of recommendation, belonged to another place, another structure. "This is very impressive," the interviewer said carefully, the words chosen to soften the blow. "But it's difficult for us to verify." That single sentence ended the conversation. The door closed, not with a slam, but with the quiet click of administrative procedure. So she stopped explaining. She discovered that some kinds of work don't require an explanation, only a physical presence. The alley behind the restaurant became her point of entry. The back door opened, and she stepped inside. Here, names were unnecessary. Her history was irrelevant. The work was simple, but it was not easy. Hands plunged into hot water, scrubbing plates clean. Dishes were stacked high, a tower of repetition. Steam rose, clouding the small kitchen, the same motions, over and over. Her hands learned the rhythm long before her mind did, a muscle memory of survival, again and again. Meals reveal a hierarchy without saying a word. Mike's evenings were structured, often spent in the university dining hall surrounded by colleagues and students. His place at the table was reserved. Lin Fang's meals were borrowed moments, eaten standing up in the quiet alley behind the restaurant, after the last customer had gone. Both were fed, but only one was expected. Over time, Mike began to notice the subtle currents of his environment. Walking across the campus at dusk, he'd pass the older faculty housing, observing the quiet lives within. He saw who waited patiently for administrative decisions, and who accepted delays without complaint. He started to realize his own comfort was not an accident. It was organized, a product of the same system that assigned other roles to other people. In his classroom, Mike taught vocabulary, words meant to build bridges between systems. Trust, exchange, cooperation. He spoke of connection, yet the system around him already spoke its own fluent language. It was a language of status and origin, and it knew, with unerring accuracy, whom to welcome and whom to overlook. That same language echoed in the dining room of the restaurant where Lin Fang worked. A customer laughed, their voice carrying through the closed kitchen door. Finally, they said. Authentic Chinese food. The word authentic reached Lin Fang where she stood, washing dishes. She did not react. She had learned that some truths do not benefit from correction. Some words are not meant for the people they describe. Gestures, too, have their own grammar. A student would approach Mike after class, handing him a notebook with a question, an act of quiet respect that acknowledged his contribution. In the restaurant alley, the owner would slip Lin Fang some extra cash at the end of a long night. A gesture not of recognition, but of discretion, ensuring her silence. One act affirmed value. The other purchased invisibility. Late at night, in their separate worlds, both were adjusting. Mike sat at his desk reading, beginning to sense that a warm welcome creates its own kind of obligation. A debt of gratitude that is never explicitly named. Lin Fang sat on her bed, counting her money carefully, understanding that silence was the price she paid to preserve the small space she had carved out for herself. Neither spoke of it. Both simply adapted to the roles they had been given. Some systems reward distance, valuing the observer over the participant. Other systems punish memory, erasing any history that doesn't fit the narrative. From his campus window, Mike looked out at a world that had embraced him. Stepping into the dark alley, Lin Fang disappeared into a world that had absorbed her. Being welcomed, they were both learning, is not the same as belonging. And being free does not guarantee you will ever be seen.